Years ago, I had done a video essay pushing the idea of a black legal defense fund, specifically for black people who had been falsely charged with having committed a crime simply because they defended themselves. YouTube took it down because apparently the idea of black people defending themselves is something that the white supremacist garbage at Google do not like, which tells us that that's exactly the idea that we need to be pursuing. And clearly the white supremacists, particularly the ones in the enforcement arm of white supremacy, which includes the DAs and the judges, they're showing that if black people think that they're going to be defending themselves, well, they gotta make some examples out of the black people who try. Well, as black people, we have to make it very clear that the right of self-defense is our first right and will be vigorously defended. Now, if you're not already subscribed to this YouTube channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button now, along with the bell icon so you can be notified whenever a new video is posted. And if you're already subscribed, check and make sure that YouTube hasn't unsubscribed you. And of course, be sure to give the video a like, as well as share it on your social media. The white supremacists hate that. For about the last couple of months now, the white media has been trying to push the narrative that there's these black people attacking Asians, that black people are just on a tear attacking Asians. But of course, as always, whenever they try, something real comes along and upsets their little apple cart. But we've been having the white media lecturing us about how if a black person is accused of even having an argument with an Asian person, why, that is an attack. That's an attack, you see. It's an attack. Meanwhile, black people are put in life-threatening situations, and the white media pretends as if they don't know that any crime was even committed. Doesn't matter if it was the murder of Latasha Harlins. Doesn't matter if it was the victims of Bernie Getz. Whenever it comes to black people, there's no circumstance that white supremacy, and particularly the white media and the thugs in the judiciary, will ever say that the black person was justified in defending themselves. This is part of a non-stop offensive against the right of black self-defense, and we have got to stand stridently in support of that right and in support of those who exercise that right. First example I can point to took place in Tampa just last week. Corey Puleholes defended himself from a white supremacist at a Dunkin Donuts of all places. You see, Corey Puleholes was a manager at a Dunkin Donuts in Tampa, and what happened was a regular customer decided that he was going to take out some of his ire on the employees there. Apparently, he claimed that the customer service wasn't very good. You know, the kind of male Karen crap is basically what this is. Some male Karen decided that he was going to go to the Dunkin Donuts just so he could let them have some abuse so he could feel a little powerful for himself. Now, what happened was this male Karen went through the Dunkin Donuts drive-thru, whined about something about service, and obviously this man was already making himself into quite a danger to the employees because the employees felt that this man's behavior was so threatening. They felt that this man's behavior was so disturbing, they had to ask him to leave. Imagine that. You're in the drive-thru and they're telling you, sir, you need to just drive away. Instead, this male Karen, he parked his car, went into the building. I'm sure that nothing bad was about to happen. And he decided that he was going to argue with the employees and with Puleholes in particular. Now imagine that. You got some unruly, absolutely out of control male Karen in the drive-thru. You don't know what kind of weapons this guy has got. You don't know if this guy is mentally unstable, though he's certainly acting like it. And rather than him leave, he decides he's going to come into the business. He escalates the situation. And he calls himself arguing with the black manager. And then what happened was this guy decided that he was going to repeatedly call Puleholes a racial slur. Yeah, because this was actually about customer service, don't you know? This guy gets in the young man's face. He's very threatening. He's coming into the place to start a confrontation. This man, for all they know, he's on meth. He's out of control. He thinks to himself that he's going to commit some sort of hate crime. He starts throwing around racial slurs. He's escalating the situation. And what happens is Puleholes defended himself. This guy was out of control. Puleholes defended himself. Well, as a result, apparently this male Karen, this white supremacist, attacker who attacked Pujols and his co-workers. This guy apparently fell. By the way, he went to the hospital. This guy no doubt had some sort of pre-existing condition. I don't think that Pujols had anything to do with this guy's injuries or subsequent hospitalization. It sounds to me like this guy had a pre-existing condition of some sort. But the guy got taken to the hospital and he died from whatever pre-existing condition I believe that he had. Well, it's pretty obvious that this was a clear-cut case of self-defense. Pujols did not go outside. He did not get in the man's face. He didn't call the guy any slurs. It was this white supremacist who called himself arguing with the people, called himself getting out of his car, going into the business, getting in the employees' faces, threatening them, calling them slurs, verbally attacking them. This guy did everything that he could to make it clear that he was a threat to them, and then all of a sudden we're supposed to be surprised when you have the victim of this attack who defends himself. And now what's happening is the white supremacist trash in Florida are attempting to railroad this model citizen on a bogus charge of manslaughter. Oh, and just to make sure, see, they understand that ever since last year, people have been organizing themselves to make sure that the black folks who defend themselves against white supremacist aggression are stood up for. So they're holding Pujols without bail. That's right. They're holding a law-abiding citizen working for a living. This guy is just the average Joe putting in a 50-hour work week at some crappy little job, and he's doing the best that he can with what little he's got, and some white supremacist attacks him, and now his entire life is at stake because of some white supremacist who decided that he was going to barge in there and start attacking him and his coworkers. His life is now being held by a thread because he defended himself and defended his friends against a white supremacist thug. The real crime here, though, as we all know, is not whatever phony baloney charge they're trying to put on Pujols. The real charge is that he dared to defend himself in the face of racist aggression. That's the real charge that Corey Pujols committed. And they want to make it very clear, if some white supremacist attacks you and your friends, you better not do anything about it. Because the DA's a fellow white supremacist and he's taking the side of the bad guys. Yeah, the same Florida that gave us George Zimmerman's acquittal, that stood with George Zimmerman, that stood with the murderers, this is the same ones trying to persecute Corey Pujols. See, a lot of people have been asking questions about how do we get the guy bailed out? Well, they made sure that he's being held without bail because they saw what happened last year. Oh, they knew that this was going to get some attention. This was blatant, and I've been telling you, this is for a reason. They do this deliberately. They do this so it's in your face deliberately. This is white supremacy trying to show you, see, we can just snatch people off the streets, and we can blatantly violate their rights, and we want you to know that this is our power. We have the power to just arbitrarily disappear people. We have the power to arbitrarily deny people their rights. We're showing our power. That's what this is about. Of course it's blatant. Of course it's egregious. That's the entire point. This is how white supremacy operates. It must be clear to those who are oppressed that they are being oppressed, and the idea is that you can't do anything about it, or at the very least they're challenging you. Okay, we're violating someone's rights and we're doing it egregiously. We're doing this in your face. And what are you niggers going to do about it? That's what this exercise is about. Corey Pujols is an innocent man. He did absolutely nothing wrong. He committed no crime. This is a good man working for a living, and some Karen with a doggone chip on his shoulder, some white supremacist thug who ain't got the sense the guy gave a dog, attacked him and his friends, and well, we see what the result is. You know, I know a lot of people who complain about customer service, but they don't do it by trying to start fights with the employees. And you know what? I also notice that those people, they usually are the ones who get whatever resolution is that they're looking for. You got a problem with the so-called customer service at this or that restaurant franchise chain, you call the corporate office. You don't call yourself starting fights with the employees, but of course this wasn't about customer service. This is about some white supremacists who think that they're going to be asserting their little power. That's what this is really about. Well, we cannot have a situation where black people who are exercising their right to self-defense, who are standing up for their right to live free from fear, free from intimidation, free from coercion, that they just become the hapless victims of whatever white supremacist who calls himself the DA who wants to come at them and decide to prosecute them and persecute them and calling themselves making an example of law-abiding citizens. We cannot stand for that. It is not merely enough to have self-defense. We must support those who exercise that right. But Corey Pujols is not the only example of this kind of egregious violation of black people's rights. As many of you know, I don't support black folks using drugs. And I know a lot of you got your noses bent out of joint because I told you the plain, simple, pig simple truth about marijuana, and apparently some people got hurt. Get over it. If you're out there using drugs of any sort, you're bogus. However, I do support black people taking advantage of whatever formal opportunities, legal formal opportunities that exist. And if the sale of marijuana happens to be among one of those legal business opportunities, I don't endorse its use, but as far as its sale goes, that's a separate issue. Hey, if you want to sell to the Pookies, Ray Rays, Bushikas, Shea Butter, Bootlicks, or the other bootlicks you see on TV, you want to sell to them, I really can't hate on you for that. But the next example isn't about the propriety of selling narcotics. It's about white supremacists blatantly violating a black person's right to self-defense. LaRue Bratcher and his wife made headlines last year as the owners of a marijuana shop in Oklahoma, I can hardly believe I'm saying those words, who had to exercise his right to self-defense against a burglar. He's an Army veteran, Mr. Bratcher. He's also a law-abiding citizen. The man who burglarized his shop in May of last year, however, was not. Mr. Bratcher shot a burglar who broke into his business. Mr. Bratcher's lawyer explained that what happened was Mr. Bratcher went to the door that the criminal was trying to get through, and Mr. Bratcher fired a single warning shot at the bottom of the door. Apparently, the criminal who was trying to break in, they were crouched at that position. I guess they were crouched low behind the door, and they were struck and killed as a result. Now, while of course we take no glee in anyone's death, we're not white supremacists after all, the truth of the matter is it was the burglar's own damn fault. He was a criminal. He was a burglar. He was trying to break into someone's business, and when you play stupid games, you can't be surprised when you win stupid prizes. Now, this would seem to be yet another open and shut case of self-defense. Oklahoma's a stand-your-ground state, not to mention the law is crystal clear on the ability of a landowner to defend his property. I mean, you're on someone else's property breaking in, you can't complain if the guy happens to be armed. So, what's the problem here? The problem is Mr. Bratcher is black, and the criminal that he shot was white. So, rather than congratulate Mr. Bratcher for defending himself and for helping to put the criminals on notice that in Oklahoma, you better obey the law or the citizens have the right to protect themselves because we don't want the criminals to just be roaming the streets, breaking into people's homes and businesses, taking what they want. People have a right to defend their property, right? Isn't that what the white supremacists are always telling us? Well, Mr. Bratcher, they're not congratulating him. Instead, the police arrested him on a bogus charge of not having a proper permit to grow marijuana. You can tell that this is basically supposed to be the verbiage that was used so that the online white supremacist would be able to signal boost the lie, because they know what the real crime here is. This black man killed a white one. And we got to make sure that the niggers understand we're putting this guy in jail. How dare you call yourself defending yourself against some white supremacist? How dare you? Everyone understands that. So you got to go ahead and send out the message that, hey, if anybody asks why he was arrested, say that he didn't have a permit to grow marijuana. First of all, it's not true. He did have a permit. Some of the white supremacist trolls have tried to claim that he never had any legal right to grow marijuana and why he was just a drug dealer running an illegal operation. Well, Mr. Bratcher's wife has already explained that the couple did have a license. The only issue was that it had lapsed, and as the Bratcher attorney explained, the Oklahoma legislature passed a bill that gave the cities the ability to regulate marijuana businesses in their respective jurisdictions. But of course, as we all know, when white power passes a law, there's all kinds of selective enforcement and targeted harassment of black people that's written in. That's what their so-called regulatory bodies are about. Mr. Bratcher had no problems from any governmental authorities regarding his marijuana business before that law got passed and the cities suddenly had jurisdiction. Now, all of a sudden, the city told him that they had problems with the building that he was in. Nigger, there's something wrong with the building. What's wrong with the building? You're making money while in that building. The problem is you're making money. That's the problem. Yeah, we all know what this really is. A black man was in a business that the white supremacists didn't want him to be in. They believed that they should have a monopoly on all businesses, and some in particular supposed to be their private preserve. So they were going to try to regulate him out. This is the same damn Oklahoma that carried out the destruction of the Black Wall Street 100 years ago. And as we can see, they're still hard at work. A black man is outperforming these white folks. These white supremacists are seeing this black man be prosperous. They're seeing him succeeding, and it eats them alive. He wasn't prosecuted for any killing. He was prosecuted for being a black man running a business, and this is going to be the pretense under which they shut him down. That's what this is a clumsy front for. As soon as a black man is getting prosperous and he's putting down his claim and he's making it clear, hey, I'm here to compete, all of a sudden, nigger, if we can't burn your business down, why, we'll destroy your business with the stroke of a pen. That's what this is about. So what they did was they invalidated his marijuana license, his permit to grow marijuana. The city decided to invalidate it. The guy's got the permit, but they looked and said, well, we don't like your business. See, we can't say if there's anything wrong with your operation. So we're just going to say, your building, the building cannot be more than 13 feet across. The building must have roofs made of a certain sort of tile sold by the inbred county sheriff's brother. That kind of crap. They claim that he violated the regulation. That's what they always do. Claim that the black person violated some regulation, some guideline. And so now you have a legal sounding excuse to do what you've been trying to do, which is to shut him down. That's what it's really about. We need to shut him down, and we need some quasi-legal sounding language that we can hide behind. Like claim that he didn't have a proper permit, when the truth is he had a permit, but the city is trying to invalidate that permit with some malicious red tape. White power made up its mind that if marijuana is going to be indeed legalized, well, we damn sure don't want black people to be making any money off the very pretense that we use to lock so many black people up. Oh, no. White supremacy is looking and saying, well, we've been using this as an excuse to lock all these black folks up. We're damn sure not going to be allowing them to make any money off of it. No, the only drug dealers are going to be the white ones, and black people, they can buy drugs from white people, but they're not going to be selling anything to anyone. This is how you get these zoning boards and regulatory bodies who rubber stamp this anti-black racism. Kind of reminds you of Turkey Hut in Houston, don't it? Just in case a black person manages to slip past the array of booby traps and trap doors and all the rest of the pitfalls that they put and roadblocks that they put in the way of black people who try to establish a business, just in case you get past all that, well, they're going to have somebody write up some rules and see if they can just arbitrarily declare you violated some regulations, so we got to arrest you. We got to shut you down. But only you. Just the black ones. The white ones, well, we have a grandfather clause for the white businesses. White businesses have a grandfather clause, which basically means you don't have to change anything. We're just going to look the other way. The black ones, on the other hand, oh, no grandfather clause for you. Selective enforcement. This is what the police and the prosecutors do, selective enforcement. But of course, it was obvious that the fix was in regarding Mr. Bratcher because the DA changed the charge to first-degree murder. Now, you know damn well the DA didn't just get up one morning and go, I think this should be first-degree murder. No, what happened was they're trying to make an example out of this guy. In practically all cases, first-degree murder requires premeditation in practically all cases. Sure, there's some sort of occasional verbiage that there might be something less than premeditation, but give it a rest, okay? For all you morons out there who try that crap, give it a rest. First-degree murder requires some, in most cases, practically all, requires some element of premeditation. You go to your shop, some dude's breaking in, there's no premeditation there. Especially if you're firing a blind shot through a door. That ain't premeditation. But of course, we all know what the real justification for this bogus first-degree murder charge is. You killed a white man, and we need to make sure black folks understand you will be prosecuted if you do anything against someone classified as white. If you're a black person, you better pray that you never cross a white person. If not, the DA is going to be bringing the laws against you. The power of the state's going to be showing up with a bunch of thugs in blue, most of them white, with guns. And they're going to be making it clear, okay, you may have stopped this one white supremacist over here, but we got you outgunned. That's what they do. You got these DAs basically staging these ambushes. That's what these arrests really are. They're ambushes against black people. This has nothing to do with law. This is white supremacist marauders running amok. Now, where's the NRA at? Well, they're probably hiding in the same place they were hiding when Philando Castile was murdered. Yeah, the NRA, they ain't got a damn thing to say in the case of Mr. Bratcher, and they've had a year now. Yeah, where's the NRA at indeed? Probably filing for bankruptcy at this rate. Where are the right-wing cheerleaders for the Second Amendment at? Hey, has anybody spotted colon cancer noir? Anybody heard from that clown? I mean, that moron can always be counted on to stick his doggone empty head up whenever there's some white supremacist who's been accused of something. He can always be counted on for that. All of a sudden, though, I hear that he's trying to change his brand now. Apparently, his little bootlicking mascot for white supremacy shtick has run thin, so he's trying to figure out if there's some other bandwagon he can get on. He's trying to change his brand, I hear. But where the hell are the colon cancer noir wannabes at, huh? Where's Ben Shapiro at? Come on, these are the same idiots who had nothing but praise for other white supremacists who have been committing blatant gun crimes, but when it comes to a black man standing up for his right in his own business, nah, I ain't got nothing to say about him. All of a sudden, this is not egregious. You don't see any of these think tanks doing pieces or trying to push the line that LaRue Bratcher is being persecuted under the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment, he's being deprived of his Second Amendment rights. He's being deprived of his right to self-defense. You don't hear any of them saying that for Mr. Bratcher. Fox News ain't saying it. Sean Hannity's not saying it. Dana Lash and all the other garbage who are always telling us that gun owners are being persecuted for responsibly using firearms in their own defense and the property and the defense of their property and loved ones. These people are nowhere to be seen now. Yeah, because the only time you ever see them is whenever they're trying to use some clear-cut case of a white supremacist going on a rampage, trying to create some smokescreen and say that it was really some misunderstood idiot with a gun, some misunderstood lunatic with an AR-15. We got a black man who fires a single shot, and the same right-wing nuts who never shut up about the Second Amendment, who never shut up about how terrible it is if gun owners can be prosecuted for defending themselves. What kind of country do we live in? Oh, they're quiet now. So what does that tell you? What that tells you is they understand full well whenever it's a white person that they think that they can defend, especially a white person who's committed a hate crime, then, oh yeah, these guys will be running their empty mouths day and night. When it's a black person in a clear-cut case of self-defense, or in the case of Philando Castile murdered because of their Second Amendment right, then these guys are quiet. Because that's what these white supremacist mouthpieces are about. It ain't about the Second Amendment. It's about preserving and promoting and upholding white supremacy. The NRA they claimed, putting together an alleged legal defense fund for gun owners. You've probably seen some of their ads on PukeTube. Oh, they love to tell these mostly white audiences that they're trying to appeal to, what happens if you shoot some nigger in the street? I mean, if you're defending yourself against some thug, and you shoot the thug in the back 9 times because, you didn't like the shoes he had on, or you feel like this guy shouldn't be on the same sidewalk as you, why, the police could arrest you for that just because you were exercising your Second Amendment right. We need a legal defense fund just so people understand whenever you kill some nigger, we're going to put together a package of money to make sure that nobody punishes you. But you won't see them speaking out for Mr. Bratcher. Yeah, they don't do any ads saying that LaRue Bratcher was protecting his business from a burglar, and now the DA decided that he's going to prosecute him for first-degree murder. How outrageous is that? No, it's not outrageous. It's white supremacy. They are racist. They don't give a damn about the Second Amendment. They only get their noses bent out of joint when white supremacists are in danger of being held accountable for their crimes. And of course, let us not forget about Mr. Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, who happened to be the significant other of the murdered Breonna Taylor, murdered by the Louisville thugs, who, by the way, in case you didn't know, I posted on my Twitter feed that yet again, I mean, this is the 15th or 20th time that we've seen this, but yet more evidence from the Louisville PD that the officers who murdered Breonna Taylor should not have fired their weapons, an internal investigation found. I mean, there's like the third or fourth one. We've been keeping you posted on that. It's over and over and over again. But of course, Daniel Cameron's looking and going, I'm not you guys are trying to mess up my chances to get some sort of phony baloney nomination to a Senate seat. These Republicans told me they're going to take care of me if I go ahead and cover up the murder of Breonna Taylor, and God damn it, I'm going to climb to office over her dead body. By the way, you notice how the Daniel Camerons are no different and no better than these other bootlicks, whether they be on the left or the right. They all operate out of the same playbook and for the same purpose. Simone Mammy Sanders didn't give a damn how many black people Joe Biden's 94 crime bill either led to the incarceration of, if not the deaths of. She didn't give a damn about that. Sylvester Turner, the mayor of Houston, he didn't give a damn how many lives that Mike Bloomberg destroyed. And the deaths that Mike Bloomberg cheerleaded for, he didn't give a damn about that. As far as he was concerned, hey, these guys might give me a job. I might get a job in the Bloomberg administration if he wins the presidency. Simone Sanders, as we saw, she was just pining away, thinking to herself, I'm going to be press secretary, and having daydreams and that empty melon on her huge linebacker shoulders about how she's going to be standing in front of a white audience. She's going to be answering the questions of the White House press corps, in her mind playing out some daydream of the West Wing or something. And what happened instead? Sylvester Turner, they've returned him to the obscurity from which they found him. And as for Simone Sanders, she's in the White House basement, licking stamps for Joe Biden's letters. But the point that I'm making is, please don't think that this is just something that comes from the Daniel Camerons. We're facing opposition on both sides. And really, there's no both sides at all. It's just one side with two different faces to it. Barely a distinction without a difference. But Kenneth Walker defended himself, same way that LaRue Bratcher did. These white supremacist thugs show up completely unannounced. They begin kicking in the front door. They're bashing in the front door, unannounced. Kenneth Walker grabs his sidearm, fires a warning shot. And what do? The DA's saying, we're going to prosecute you, nigger. How dare you try to defend yourself? So what if we killed your woman? That doesn't matter. You have no right to defend her or yourself. And what happened was the people mobilized. The black grassroots mobilized. Oh, the police didn't like that. They're like, how? You can't drop the charge. The DA's like, well, hell, don't have anything to prosecute him on anyway. I was hoping that nobody would come to his defense. You see the power of a black legal defense fund, family? You see how that is? These bastards in these DA's offices, 90% of their cases get plea bargained. And they get plea bargained because the accused, usually black, doesn't have the financial means with which to get adequate counsel to defend themselves. They get some court-appointed nobody from some law firm. And many of these clowns in these law firms either were former prosecutors, or many of them are a bunch of ham and eggers who are barely scraping out a living at all. And they would love to work for the DA's office if they could. At least they'd have gainful, regular employment and a paycheck they could actually depend on. But the thing is, you got these black folks who usually get stuck with some court-appointed Shylock, some freaking loser who doesn't even want to carry out their case. I've told you about how you had these lawyers who basically said, my client's guilty as hell. This is supposed to be your damn defense attorney. He's telling everybody you're guilty. That's usually who black people get. And the DAs know they got the deck stacked against the black accused. So that's what that damn DA in Louisville was counting on. He was counting on that Kenneth Walker wasn't going to be able to mount any sort of defense. He wouldn't be able to get a lawyer. And that being the case, we'll go ahead and railroad him too, and we'll make an example out of him. Except that didn't happen that way. Kenneth Walker had the support of the black grassroots. He was able to get himself a lawyer and the DA had to back down. The cops are like, this is going to endanger us. No, these raids that you do, these racial raids, these racial ambushes that you carry out, that's what endangers the police. Obey the law and nothing will happen. But as we explained with the Louisville PD, they lied on the search warrant, lied and claimed that there were drugs being transported to Breonna Taylor's apartment when there wasn't any drugs, and they knew that they were lying when they said it. And you don't have the Kentucky State Authority stepping in. And by the way, Joe Biden's Injustice Department under Merrick Garland, they happen to be quiet too. Geez, so I guess it ain't just the racist DAs who are also quiet on the issue. Old Jim Crow Joe ain't got nothing to say. Yeah, this lets you know the fix is in across the board. You're up against an organized offense. You require an organized legal defense fund. Kenneth Walker is an innocent man. Kenneth Walker should be lauded and praised for defending himself. The Louisville PD's admitted 10 ways from Sunday. They know how this is going to end for them, just like with the Minneapolis police. They know that the thugs who ambushed and murdered Breonna Taylor and were trying to kill Kenneth Walker, they know that these cowardly killers were dead wrong. They know it. But what they also know is that in many cases, what's happened is there has not been a sufficiently organized defense against these white supremacist roving gangs, whether they have badges or not. They know that too. And what they're hoping for is that if they just bring enough attacks against black people, maybe we'll be cowed. Maybe what'll happen is black folks will be intimidated. Maybe black folks will look and go, ooh, this is too much work to have to fight white supremacy now. See, black people have shown in too many cases we are consistently inconsistent. We have shown that we'll be red hot about something one minute, and then we'll be bored, apathetic, and wander off without doing a thing the next. So white supremacy feel like they can roll the dice. Why not? It's worked out in a number of other cases. There's a greater than 50% chance it'll work out that way here. See, the thing is, you're not going to be having any of your well-to-do Negroes who are standing up for the rights of black people, because too many of those black folks are themselves trying to get a pat on the head from the white powers that be. They're trying to win the approval of white supremacy. But here's the thing. If you got a critical mass of black folks who are on code, you don't need any of these bootlicks. You don't need any of these professional white supremacist butt kissers. You got enough of the black grassroots on code, we get the job done ourselves. So a black legal defense fund is an idea whose time has come. I've given you just a few examples of the necessity for that. There's plenty more that I can name, but I hope the point is made. Black people are the only people in this country who are consistently attacked and persecuted for exercising their right to self-defense. We are the only ones treated like that. Everybody else, well, the white media is going to be doing months-long phony stories claiming that, oh, these other people, some Asian got attacked in New York City. There's probably some black guys who did it. And the next thing you know, you can get fired if you do not step in to defend somebody who's not black. Oh, if there's somebody who's not black and you as a black person do not step in, you do not risk your life to protect somebody who's not black, mind you. Why? They want to make it clear we're getting on code that we can fire you. We're going to do something. We're going to try to penalize you somehow. And keep in mind, there are also laws, by the way, again, that only get selectively enforced. Oh, you better believe them Good Samaritan laws. They're going to all of a sudden dust off the books and say, there was some nigger who did not risk his life for some non-black person. And that being the case, we're going to make an example for you niggers. You exist only to make sure you protect non-black people. And if you don't, if you're on call 24/7, and if you don't, we're going to send you to prison. Okay, and what happens if you do defend someone? Well, this Dunkin Donuts guy, Mr. Pewholes, he shouldn't have done it. You shouldn't have defended yourself. You shouldn't have defended your coworkers either. So if you defend your coworkers and yourself, you get prosecuted because you don't have a right to self-defense. And if you don't protect someone, allegedly protect them, well, you need to go to prison because you weren't a good Samaritan. You see the trick bag. And this is a game the white supremacy is playing because they're wanting to see how much opposition they're going to get. These white supremacists are a demonic lot of trash, but they're also cowardly as hell. And if we're going to defeat the white supremacists, this requires that we show courage in the face of their evil. You see, the thugs in blue were surprised at what happened with Kenneth Walker. They were surprised. That wasn't supposed to happen. They were surprised, but the black grassroots were not. I've been telling you for almost a decade and a half now. If we fight, we win. It's only when we don't that we die. If we fight, we beat the bastards. These are not some unstoppable juggernaut. Sure, they've got massive resources and a huge head start, but the truth of the matter is, as black folks, we got to be honest with ourselves. A large part of why it is the white supremacy has been running the boards is because we've been letting the bastards do it. This is not to say that we have the ability to stop any and all encroachment by white supremacy upon us under all circumstances at all times. I never said that. But what I am telling you is we can make the bastards back off if we show that we've got some steel in our spines. If we show that as black folks, we've lost our fear of fighting white supremacy and that we are going to fight them across the board. People are going to be taken to the streets. People are going to be pulling up. It has to be made crystal clear that we're not going to be allowing them to target us. We're not going to be allowing them to selectively prosecute us. We're not going to be allowing the out-and-out persecution of black people to just be standard operating procedure. Because what's been happening is white supremacy has been able to carry out black persecution as some sort of free ride. As far as they're concerned, there's no price to be paid for it. Why, you get to just violate black people's rights across the board totally for free. Well, last year they found out that there was a price that goes along with it. But what they're trying to find out is this going to be the new normal? And that comes down entirely to the black grassroots. But don't ever let somebody try to shame you or tell you that a Corey Pujols or a LaRue Bratcher or a Kenneth Walker doesn't have a right to defend themselves. They have a right to defend themselves, and we have a right to support their right of self-defense.